Welcome to episode 5 on Learn to Unlearn. This is about exploring health and a return to health with cannabis and with SCACT and with many other things. And it looks like it's going to be a lot more intuition rendered than anything else. It's all about listening to the self and a lot of other goodies that we're going to get into real quick. Um, in this episode, we take a necessary and painful walk into our past. And in doing so, we're going to attempt to liberate our fears of it all and what lies ahead. And forgive me if I need to read at times little notes that I have, but this just came out a couple of nights ago when I was thinking about how to approach this show and how to do it in a good way and, the best way possible. Okay, so I've explained the cancers briefly that I've had, that I do have. One aggressive cancer from the bladder, and one low grade cancer, they say, which is prostate cancer. And I'm taking cannabis oil and SCACT to fight both of them. And this is like a weekly diary that I'm going to be doing, talking about various things. And no, you can't really resume a healing that fast once a week, but it's nice to be able to have a platform like this to be able to talk about different problems that you have, which I'll be addressing. There's going to be testimonies about health and about sickness and what difficult walks we have. Um, in this journey, I'm really blessed to have with me people that have proven themselves to be who they really say they are, like integrity-driven souls who have been able to talk about their horror stories. And it was kind of like automatic for me, since I'm doing a show on healing, to think of my good friend from another mother, a brother from another mother, Chris Vlar from France. And he's Dutch actually, but he's living in France. And he's agreed to do a segment with me talking about the horrors of what we've been faced with and how we deal with them, and how we both in this program are going to try and hopefully assist other people in the same ballpark. Even if they're going through it now, we already went through it and we're going through it step after step, stage after stage. So if people allow us to, we can be a part of their healing and, be a part of their most sensitive personal growth life's lessons. So um, it's all about finding that space that's free from trauma, and you can be at peace, and that's where the healing is going to begin. It's all about community getting together, sitting around a fire, and taking turns to speak as we try to enlighten ourselves and those around us. So um, I'm going to be talking with him, and he seems to share his passion, where he's been with no regrets. And it's a genuine understanding of life and how each of us are meant to approach it in a different way. He's a soft spoken soul, and I invite you to take the time and watch this segment with me. And my friend Chris joins me at this moment after setting all this up. How are you, Chris?
I'm fine, Luca. How are you?
You got to say it for everybody. How do you say that? Brother from a different mother. How do you say that again?
Goedemiddag, broeder. Of goedenavond, broeder van een andere moeder.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's very close to German. Uh, Chris is you're Dutch, right? You
Yeah, that's
you are
correct.
Dutch, but you're living in France at the moment. Uh, like I said in the introduction, I can't talk about difficulties in healing and living a good life without thinking of my brother from another mother, as you just heard. Chris has his own horror stories, and maybe we can just give people an idea of what you're going through. Chris, just tell us what happened in your case.
Yeah, well, first of all, I would say at the time it was a horror story, but now when I think of it, it wasn't. It was a great part of my life. But 30 years ago, on the 25th of July, I had a severe car accident. In that, I lost my right leg, just under the knee. My left elbow was totally smashed up, so I got limited use of my left arm. I had my own business at the time, a flower business back in Holland. 7,000 square meters, almost 2 acres of greenhouse, growing flowers. So yeah, my life was more or less shattered. Both my upper legs were broken, and a couple of holes here and there, to say it a bit not so polite. Um, 3 days
Mm.
later in the hospital, I woke up. First, I didn't even have a clue what was going on. I thought I had a very bad nightmare, and I thought I closed my eyes for a few seconds and it will be all right again.
Just to make it work. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Mm.
Um, so then, yeah, from a healthy man, you're there laying in a hospital bed, and I only could move my right arm, but that was covered in. They had all sort of infuse and stuff in it, so even that was hard to move. Totally dependent on other people. Uh, well, my business was going downhill.
Wow.
The good thing was that the accident was not my fault, so financially, I was sort of okay, but it's more than just finances. Yeah, and then you start a healing process, and at first you listen to the experts, so to speak. What else can you do?
Hang on. Let me make it look good. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm. Oops.
yeah. That doesn't look good.
No.
Then you and well, there are two sides to it. Of course, the physical part to get better, and the emotional, spiritual part, if you want. Because of I had three operations in a short time. So I had for about 20 hours or so anesthetic. Cannot remember exactly. So give or take 1 or 2 hours. So I had a lot of toxins in my body. And they gave me, I can't remember what medication it was, but it's the equivalent of morphine. And I had one of the big tablets, or three, I think about three of the big tablets a day. And I was really getting horrific sort of, not nightmares, what's the word?
Flashbacks.
No, ah, not flashbacks. Oh, come on, what do you call it?
Mm.
Hallucinations.
Yes.
Yeah, I was getting horrific hallucinations, really scary ones, and I said, can't I stop with these pills because probably combinations got a bad effect. No, you can't because now you're addicted to it. And I thought, right, so does that mean that for the rest of my life I need to keep taking them? Because if I'm now addicted, I'm keep taking them, then it only gets worse. So I thought, what I do, I cut back from 3 to 2 a day, and you see what happens.
Mm.
So that's what I did. I did that for a couple of days, 2, 3 days, and nothing really happened. So I thought, well, then I go back to one. Did that for about 3 days. Nothing happened. So then I went back to nothing. So I was collecting all these pills at the time.
Yeah.
And after a couple of days, still nothing happened. So I said to the nurse at some point, well, here's a bag of pills. And I stopped it. And they weren't impressed that I didn't consult them, and I did it all on my own
Yeah.
account without having knowledge of it. But well, also for the emotional part, um, I was explained very quickly that losing a limb or a part of your body, it's a similar experience as losing a loved one, as losing a child, or like that. Well, what might or might not be true, I don't know. It's
Mm.
um, I did have yeah, periods. I wondered what happened with that amputated leg of mine. I even asked the surgeon, and he said, "Well, all that waste, it's getting all burned altogether." I thought, waste? You're talking about my leg, mate.
Mm.
That's not waste. That is my leg. Anyway, the guy's done a good job for me, so I cannot knock him for it. Um, After 2 months, I went to the rehabilitation center, and of course, I had bad moments in the hospital as well. And I there was another guy similar age as mine, who also had a car accident, and we gave each other a lot of support, being sarcastic, uh, taking the Mickey out of each other, and you got nothing else to do, staring at the ceiling. And there was a psychologist, and she wanted to have an intake with every patient on the ward because they asked, do you need a psychological help? I said, no, I'm fine. Sometimes, I got a bad day. Then I go to my bed, cry for a couple of hours, and then, uh, kick myself under the butt. No pun intended, but with one leg is a bit difficult.
I
but
understand.
so I had this intake with this woman. I said, yeah, I don't mind if she wants. I can understand that she wants to know. She said, have you had already had a severe depression? I said, no, no. I said, haven't had one. Now and then a bad day. If things a couple of days don't work out as you want them to be, you get a bit fed up and you think, you go two step forward, one step back, and that one step back sometimes, yeah, it does hurt, and maybe I wanted too much. But oh, she said, if you haven't had one, you will get one because that's normal. Now I'm not normal, so at the other hand, I'm still entitled to a depression now.
Mm,
So you've got to know your rights. So yeah, I was a bit shocked by what she said. This is a psychologist who should help you mentally get you back on your feet. Um, and I thought, wow, um, now I know why I definitely don't want to visit her, because if I haven't got a depression, I will get one because of her.
yeah, yeah, and she'll make sure of it, and then she'll make sure that she has the piece of paper to go with it for,
Yeah,
a prescription.
yeah. I
See,
I
this
studied
is
for it.
this is all. I guess one of my hopes in doing this show is to be able to tell people like this is not true. There are so many other ways to be able to heal, and it's not in the hospital for me. And I think you can agree.
Well, yeah. Of course, in my situation, broken legs and whatever, and I'm glad the hospital was there to patch me up and everything.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't want to say that hospital is not for me. Well, it isn't for me, but all the stuff around it.
Yeah,
It's like they expect patients to behave a certain way, because the same mate of mine who was with me in the hospital was also in the rehabilitation center, and we had a good connection. So if I had one of these bad days, now and then he looked around the corner, and after a couple of hours, when he thought it was enough, he was like, excuse my language, something like, "Come on, lazy bastard, get out of your bed. We're going to play some basketball." So then I was, "Oh, shut up," and
hmm
and that
hmm
was it. And then that was for me. I knew he cared for me, and I cared for him. Um, and sometimes the language, yeah, it was quite rough, quite hard, and but for us, that seemed to work. And it was not only the two of us; there were more there, and it's um, you do sort of find your more or less like-minded people, and everybody reacts different, and they should. Think they should focus more on the person's needs, emotional needs, and instead of like, no, this is how it works, this is how it is, and this is how you're going to do it.
yeah.
Otherwise, you're not normal.
And the doctor even looked at me, at the oncologist, the last doctor I saw before leaving there very very quickly. He looked at me and he said, "Luca, this is the only way we know how to cure your condition." And I'm like, no, there are other ways. And he looked at me again, and when they approach you physically, it's like they're trying to intimidate you. Like they know so much more than you do. Uh, and he literally told me that this is the only way we know to cure you. And right then and there, I knew that it was like a precipice. The doctor starts here, and then he sends you here, and then he sends you here, and then they send you here, and you can't go anywhere anymore. And people that listen to the doctor, they do what the doctor says, and they end up destroying their life. And I've seen people destroying their life. I've seen their lives destroyed by chemo and radiation and what have you. And we're going to talk
Yeah,
about that on the next show with another guest.
yeah.
But Chris, you had more to add on that, I'm sure.
uh, yeah, it's um, although I do think, but maybe I'm a bit naive or too positive. I think that most doctors, surgeons, that they are good willing. Um, but I can't remember exactly where I read it. But a doctor gets only in his whole study something like 5 hours on medication, and I don't know the figures, but I'm sure every
Mm.
day there will be dozens, so not hundreds, of new pills for this, new pills for that. So they are only being fed by the pharmaceutical industry and by professors or whatever.
Yeah,
So now we got this latest medication, and that's absolutely brilliant. So they pass the message on to you. Oh wow, we got this new whatever, and that is the cure. Um, I think most of them are misled as well, and it must be a minefield because there must be tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, different pills in slightly different
oh yeah.
combinations, and you name it. So it is a minefield for them as well.
And there are two entities: the health industry and the medical industry. You got the doctors that don't really know about health, and the health people that don't really know about doctor stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah. It's absolutely crazy, and I
but
find it
there's
a
an
pity.
agenda. This is to talk about the agenda. This is to expose the agenda because first people go along with it, then they go along with it and they're going, something doesn't feel right. Then they stop and they don't go along with it at all, and they're looking around. And this is where people start to learn. And once you start opening your eyes, you can't close them again. And I came to the point right then and there, face to face with the oncologist, and I knew right then and there that this is where it stops for me. No, they're not going to rip out my prostate and my bladder and then kind of, give me a catheter and send me home after doing chemo and radiation.
Yeah,
A friend of mine made a very good analogy about chemo and radiation. He said it's like you have one weed in your garden and you spray the insecticide all over the garden.
yeah,
You're going to
yeah.
kill absolutely everything. So,
My sister-in-law, she died in August, not of cancer, but mainly liver failure, and well, basically all the other organs. After several years of mustard gas, I believe it is, or similar to mustard gas
a
chemo.
byproduct, yes.
Yeah, a byproduct. Um, she started off with breast cancer, and after treatment, they said it was all gone. And then the year after, 6 months later, the cancer was everywhere in her body. And I'm certainly no expert, but I have been told that even chemo, it sort of can produce loose cells that go around your body and nestle somewhere,
Hmm.
and and start it all over again. So I said to her, why don't you start with look into it with apricot kernels, B12 vitamins that's in apricot kernels, cannabis oil, and many. No, 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 no. I trust the medical profession. Um,
Mm.
she was very positive in her, during her sickness, during her illness, but uh, it was therapy after therapy, and then liver started to pack up, kidney started to pack up, and problems with this, problems with that, and she was all bloated. She looked like 11 months pregnant in the end.
Mm.
Uh, all the hair falling out. The family was affected. Still relatively young children. The youngest is now 19, so when it started, it was 14. Um, and then I think, was it really worth it to go through all that?
Mm.
And that anyway, it's no, it's of course it's different. You are in the situation, and it's difficult for me to say if I get cancer, I will do this or I will do that. I think you can only can say it when you are in that situation. But I would advise people to, well, it's your favorite phrase, learn to unlearn.
And yours is
Uh,
what? And yours is?
learn to think for yourself, and they go hand in glove. Don't discount what doctors say, but think for yourself. And do I want this? And does this work for me? It might work for somebody else. I don't know. But in this, in my case, it didn't work for me. I have my own way of dealing with it, and I think no, I don't think I know I came out the right way, a stronger person, a better person. The whole experience has taught me so much. It might sound strange. Of course, if I can have my leg back tomorrow and a healthy arm, yes, please.
Mm,
But the whole experience has played such an important part in my life
mm.
that I wouldn't have liked to miss it. If you get my point.
You don't, you wouldn't change it for anything.
No, no, no. It's and you have to see it as a whole. And yeah, that was something else. The surgeon, he told me this was after 6 weeks after the accident, um, because the way my muscles are built up or something, I don't know.
Mm,
He said, you will never walk without a stick and probably never without crutches. And at first, when he said that, and I was a bit depressed about it. Oh God, it's so I have to walk the rest of my life. A 35-year-old at the time with a stick and probably with crutches. And after, if I walk then 10 years with a stick, then definitely I need to use crutches. And then I thought, no, mate, up yours. I'm not. I'm not going to do it. I'm not having it.
mm.
Who are you to decide for me what I can or can't do? Uh, and 30 years later, I still don't use a stick. Walking is fine. If I do a walk of 3-4 kilometers, it's fine. Maybe not like others with still healthy legs, but okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. And no, I don't need a stick. I don't need crutches. They're in the corner somewhere in the bedroom, but I haven't used them for a long, long time.
Yeah. For me, and we've talked about this before, I broke my back in 1991, and I had one of the most important surgeries that they had at the time, where they opened me up on the side, on the left side, 126 stitches, and
Wow.
they replaced they seized, or they fused uh, the spinal cord. So um, what's happening now is my back is, it's slowly collapsing. It's doing this now because this part is rigid, so this part is trying to compensate for
Right.
it. So
Yeah.
I'm slowly, and I'm remembering my pain now because of the other um, the other problems going away, the urinary tract and the prostate problems slowing down. Now I'm reminded, hey, remember that problem before? Remember that pain that you, because the mind only can handle one pain at once. I guess that's all. You can only think about one thing at a time. So now I'm kind of reminded of, oh, oh like the back pain that I forgot about, the side that I remembered. Oh, and the good side gets weak when
Yeah.
because it's trying to compensate for the other
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've come to terms with that, but it's kind of funny, which means that we're healing. And in the other shows, I was talking about how to listen to yourself, how to
Yeah.
listen to your body, and it will tell you how to heal. It's like being quiet. We see that all the time. Beautiful memes on Facebook that say the quieter you get, the more you hear. This is all
Right.
about,
Yeah.
it's all about a direction. It's your choice. You can completely discard this or start in that direction and find out and take a little bit from everybody. And this is what we're doing. And this is exposing an evil system also. It's sorry to say, but this is a very evil system that profits from us, and there's absolutely no profit for them if we're healthy. So
No. No. Nothing to earn. No.
You know.
And that's another good example that I had with the power of the mind. It's in the beginning when I came out of the artificial coma and I had in the amputated leg, I had phantom, what they call phantom pains.
Hmm.
I felt the uh, the the foot from the leg that was amputated. It felt to me if the foot was in a shoe that was two sizes too small. Or I don't know what sizes you use in the States, but
Yeah.
I think a bit different. But in anyway, in a shoe that is too small. And I said, and it was yeah, it was quite horrific pain. So I said to the doctor in hospital, I said, but if, can you do something about it? He said, no, phantom pain is nothing we can do about it.
Mm,
So you have to learn to live with it. Well, he did say the only thing that seems to work is cannabis, but I'm not supposed to tell you that.
mm,
And well, I thought I can hardly smoke a spliff in hospital. That's a bit.
mm. Yeah.
But what I did, and for a day or so, and I was just pondering about it. How can I tackle this? And um, um what I did, I thought, I got nothing to lose. I'm just going to try it. I went into some sort of altered state, if you like,
Hmm.
meditative state, whatever you want to call it. And in my mind, I was undoing the shoe first from my good leg. Yeah, took my shoe off in my mind. Undo the laces, open the shoe up, and
Hmm.
take it off. And then with my amputated leg, and almost straight away the pain became less. And I've done that over I can't remember exactly, over 3 4 days. Did it
Mm-mm-mm.
several times a day. After that, the pain was gone.
Wow.
So how the process works, I don't know. I'm not an expert, but it worked anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
The
I
power of
think
the mind.
the power of the mind. I got a theory about it because the nerves endings from your foot are still in my leg, going to my brain, and that's my philosophy. That my brain is sort of got confused messages because the
Yeah.
foot is gone,
Hmm.
and still is getting signals from that from these nerves, and that it translates that into this pain. So if I then tell my brain that part, no, the shoe is off the foot, so it's okay now, it's gone. I think you can train that part of your brain to sort of accept a different message. But that's my
Absolutely.
uneducated guess.
Absolutely. And we can relearn anything. We just have to unlearn first.
Yeah,
The unlearning means to get the water out of the glass so that you
yeah,
can don't empty it. I had somebody tell me that one time. They said, "Don't ever empty your glass. Keep enough water in it," which means you have some knowledge. Keep
yeah.
some water in it or some liquid in it, but never empty it. That way you can always learn more. And Chris, I have to tell you, it's a real honor to have you as a friend and a brother. And there are people all around the world that are going to be helped by shows like this and by people like you who come forward and have it's a hard journey. Some people don't want to talk about it. Some people can't deal with it. It all depends on where they're at. But for people who have their mind open and their heart open, it's never ending. I really believe that.
Yeah, yeah. It's um, yesterday I heard a good analogy, and quite funny as well. There was this tiny little bird, and it was raining, young bird, and it was in the nest, and well, at some point it was ready to fly out, but it not quite ready, so it fell out of the nest on the floor. It was soaking wet, really cold, and there up came this cow, and he saw the little bird and shivering with cold. So he was standing with his back legs over the bird, tail went up, and did a proper pancake, nice and warm. So the bird was nice and warm,
Cute.
and but then a hyena saw what happened, and he saw the little bird, covered in the cow dough.
Mm,
So he carefully, got the little bird, cleaned it all up, and then it was like, hop, I got you.
Mm.
Now, what's the moral of that story?
I shudder
Well,
to think.
yeah, well, the moral of the story is not everything that looks like shit is shit.
Mm.
And not everybody, everything that cleans you up is really meant to clean you up.
Oh, cute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah, I like that one.
That's like the rattlesnake and the little boy. That's like the rattlesnake and the little boy. The little boy's on top of the mountain and he's going down, and the rattlesnake is looking at him, saying, "I want to go down. Pick me up. I want to go down. I really have to go down in a hurry. Please pick me up." The guy says, "I know what you are. You're a rattlesnake. I'm not going to pick you up. You're going to bite me." And he goes down further. The rattlesnake shows up again and says, "Please pick me up. I won't bite you. I promise. I swear it. I'll never bite you." The kid said, "No, I don't trust you." And he keeps walking down the hill. Finally, the third or fourth time, the rattlesnake says, "Please," he says, I'm begging you. I really, really have to go down." And the kid saw the rattle stop. So he said, "Oh, well, okay. I'll trust you, Goes down the mountain with it. And on the bottom of the mountain, the snake bit him. And the boy throws him on the ground. He says, "Why did you do that? I brought you down from the mountain." And the rattlesnake says, "Yeah, but you know who I was when you picked me up."
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's the moral of that one. But we're going to
Yeah.
have more shows like this, Chris. I hope. I just wanted to focus today on your show, on your story, and
Yeah.
to have you on, because these are going to be short messages once a week, just to let people know what's going on. And I'll give you some closing words if you'd like.
Oh God, now you throw me.
Yeah, cameras on him.
Yeah.
Okay, ready? Go.
Yeah. Well, again, I would like to say it's whatever situation you're in, and it doesn't have to be in hospital, like in Lucas' case, or in my case. Every situation, yeah, as Lucas said, learn to unlearn. Yeah, so many things that's been taught to us that is not necessary. Some are true, some are not true. Investigate for yourself, and if it sits right with you to use chemo, then please do. It wouldn't be my thing, but it's everybody to their own. All choices you have to make, and yeah, think for yourself what is best for you, and what all the other think is really not that important. You hear so often somebody has an illness, and the doctor says you got 2 months to live, and exactly 2 months later they die
Mm,
because it's in their mind. They said I'm going to die within 2 months, so they die within 2 months. And
mm.
I'm sure that the power of the mind is very much underestimated. What we can do, and of course, also very important. Be careful what you eat. You are what you eat. They sometimes say, and I believe that it's a mixture of a bowl. It's a mixture of many things.
Yeah,
So yeah, I would like to give that to the people, and I hope I've been to some use for somebody.
absolutely. And this is what the show wants to do. And it's like I said in the other shows, it's all about listening to yourself. It's a choice that we have. You
Yeah,
know, you want to keep drinking that diet Pepsi and gaining weight, and taking your pills. Everything man-made works together to poison us.
yeah,
So
yeah.
start eating more from the earth and less out of a box, as they say. So we'll be back with another show, Chris, soon, some other time. I'm not sure when, but this is on the fly. This is perfect for today, and I can't thank you enough for being on. Um, on the next show, we're going to be talking with Roger Landry and his view on chemo. So until next time, thank you so much, Chris, for being on. And this is Luca Mino with Learn to Unlearn. And like he says, think for yourself. Learn to think for yourself.
Thank you for inviting me. It's
Thanks
been a
so much.
pleasure.
We'll be back next week.
Okay. Good night.